lot of dudes, y'all be putting up with too much shit.
Ever wanted to see what would happen if Notorious B.I.G. and the Snuggles Bear went through the transporter from The Fly? Well, here it is.
If we at a crib and she be a bad host, tryna disappear, see, I'm a ghost.
ShamelessDAB is a big fan of the show, and he's an even bigger fan of the Smash and Dash. Check out his newest music video by clicking on the link in the description, and maybe he'll introduce you to the stunning and brave models in his videos. Space Ghost.
If we in bed and she being lazy, I'ma disappear like my name Patrick Swayze. Don't hit me with a text tryna say what's up.
What's up, you Moscato muskrats? Terrence Popp here, Redonkulous.com. Oh.
And returning from a long sabbatical in the abyssal trench between your girlfriend's thighs, I'm Toxic Male.
Bad Pop showed up because I got some terrible news for the women out there. It turns out living your best life without regrets doesn't really turn out that way. Oh, sure. These eggplant enthusiasts, they'll swear on a stack of Bibles that their life is absolutely amazeballs. Whatever the hell that means. But the only amazeballs in their lives, well, they bounce out the door right after they bounce off their chin. Screen 5. I'm sorry, ladies. It doesn't matter how many meals you take pictures of. And it doesn't matter how many selfies you post, because they're totally empowering and you do it for yourself, right? You're definitely not fishing for attention in skin-tight yoga pants and Wonder Bras. What would ever give you that idea, huh? I'm just asking for a friend. Come on! We've all seen these chicks on social media. Take my word for it. Every single spanktastic one of them is completely miserable. The ones that aren't, yet, well, they're on the express train right into the wall and there are no stops in Cleveland. Let's face it, ladies, living your best life without regrets, well, that's only true on opposite day. And there is no better living example of this other than pink taxidermy. I hate to burst your spinster bubble here, but women who do not identify as phlebotomists, a huge majority of them here in the West, still subscribe to many of their beliefs. Ladies, what you should be subscribing to is this channel. I'm not gonna rub your feet or bring you ice cream, and I'm certainly not gonna tell you what you wanna hear, but I will always drink with you and tell you the harsh, brutal truth. So dudes, pour yourself a menagerie, and ladies, pull out your period panties, because the butthurt must flow. Yeah. Before we get started, I'm going to point out two differences between real men and women. And yes, I said real men. Go ahead and let the butthurt flow.
My pronouns are not preferred. They're not a preference. They are mandatory for interaction with me.
Most of the pickled sausage walking around out there claiming to be men, well, they got their manhood by default. 3 generations of single mothers have absolutely destroyed masculinity down to its core. And in its place, we have a crop of limp soybeans who cry during commercials, pay for OnlyFans accounts, and pay to see Captain Marvel 116 times. Dudes, I know Brie Larson has got an amazing rack, but I'd rather have a 65-inch TV, just saying. Here's the funny part. These are the kind of men women claim they want, but, oh my God, they really don't. And they wouldn't go near them with a 10-meter cattle prod, unless they're in their late 30s with multiple kids and are out of options. Even avowed pink taxidermists think male chauvinists are more attractive. What does this mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, women are liars, Screen 5.
How dare you?
And that brings us to the first difference between the two genders. And yes, there's only two, so send your hate mail to kissmyass@idon'tcare.com. Men communicate overtly. We say what we mean, and we mean what we say. And women communicate covertly. Oh my God, I got a drink for this one. They almost never say what they mean, and they expect us to pick up on their signals. Every dude out there has had this experience at a minimum on the third date.
We are not fornicating tonight.
Most modern men, well, they'll throw their shirt right back on and go, hey baby, well, what's on Netflix? Don't make that mistake. Because if you are going to Netflix and chill, you have to realize chill is an acronym. It stands for cock hitting inner labia and lips. Screen 5. At that moment, real men check their wallet to see if they bought any protection, because they know someone's gonna go down. Because when she says that, she's thinking about it. She's probably already prepared the runway for a crash landing, if you know what I mean. She wants you to seduce her, so she has plausible deniability later. Because you instigated the whole thing in her mind, she's not a slunta.
How's that working out for you? What? Being clever?
And that brings us to the second key difference between men and women. And that is how we all deal with regret or regrets. Because men, we are pragmatic creatures and we do what we have to do. And along the way, we tend to give up a lot of stuff that we want for the stuff that we need. So in the end, men usually regret the things they didn't do or bang. And make no mistake, dudes, this is usually a good thing. Because we tend to forego a lot of the stupid shit that could quite possibly evict us from our meat suits. I made a whole video about stupid shit men do under the age of 25. Here it is, check it out. Like jumping a drawbridge in a sports car, or skydiving in the dark, or better yet, knife fighting a bandito in a Mexican whorehouse. Not that I would know anything about that, I'm just using those as examples. Women, on the other hand, because men are usually holding the bag for them, they tend to be more impulsive and, dare I say, less disciplined. As a result, they do what they want to do and wind up regretting a lot of it. And that's because they steer their decisions with the oar of emotion and leave logic on the side of the road. And that's after they suck off the wrecker driver because the only tool they know how to use was in his pants. Screen 5. Because of this lack of impulse control, which I refer to as green grassitis, 80% of divorces are filed by women. And why? Well, most of their friends are getting divorced and going back to the club for about 10 minutes until they get taken out back and bent over the dumb dumpster, if you know what I mean.
Howdy, partner. The Brave browser protects your privacy and gets you back in the saddle, making it safe to surf the web again, ad-free. Even Vladimir Putin probably uses it. If you do choose to see ads, you get paid for your attention in cryptocurrency. If you're still using YouTube on Google Chrome, then my pet horse is laughing at you. Don't let the stallions of Silicon Valley spy on you and mount you like a prize pony. Download Brave by clicking on the link down below.
Now, I am going to freely admit, especially for the ladies out there, single life is way more fun. It's more exciting, it's more interesting, and there's a hell of a lot more variety. But they confuse the adrenaline rush they get from jumping on random pogo sticks with happiness and fulfillment. When you end a marriage for this reason, are you really surprised when it doesn't go your way? As an inescapable result, a lot of these women regret these decisions most of the time. But women, phlebotomists, and the media refuse to admit it. They glorify it even when it all falls apart. In fact, they use that to grab yet more sympathy. They just leave out the fact that getting divorced and leeching off their husband in the system was all their idea. And why? Well, they just weren't happy. Wah. Usually this unhappiness comes about because the dude was working his ass off to pay for the lavish lifestyle she wants. Or unhappiness creeps in because he doesn't make enough money to keep up with the Joneses. If he lives in Chi-Congo, Jamal. And that brings us to the first biggest divorce regret these women have. Money! Moolah! Finances! Shocker, want to smell it?
No.
When these women actually go through divorce, they think their financial situation will improve or at least remain the same. But it doesn't take that long for them to realize they are wronger than two boys playing hide the crucifix in church. Usually during or shortly after the divorce, these sausage wallets realize they're on the hook for everything. Well, I could have told you that, Screen 5. It starts to sink in that they have to work, take care of the kids, and maintain everything by themselves. Before, they had a man to handle shit, pay the bills and watch the kids. So they could have their me time with Bob, their battery-operated boyfriend. Oh my God! Guess what, baby? That ship has sailed! It's all on you now. Except, that 4 days a month when the kids are actually allowed to see their father.
And that's when these bimbos go get their backs blown out by Rando Thirst Blood Part 2, and these dudes wouldn't commit if you had them declared insane and sent the men in white coats after them.
And in the end, all of these cry bullies wind up in poverty, crying, "Where have all the good men gone?" Gee, isn't it ironic that money is the #1 reason for divorce and the #1 regret afterwards? And that brings us to number 2.5, the kids. These women have been led to believe their kids will be just fine without a father. Phlebotomists say the kids don't need their toxic father around. Wang. We gotta praise single mothers because they're doing it all alone. They're stunning and brave, double wang. Never mind all the alimony, child support, and government handouts, right? Oh yeah, you totally worked for all that, right? On your back, Space Ghost. And never mind the overwhelming evidence that children from fatherless homes are handicapped for life. You people working in prisons, crazy houses, and rehab clinics, you like your paycheck? Thank a single mother, Screen 5. Meanwhile, the laws and family court force men into an impossible position. And no, I'm not talking about reverse cowgirl, because if she's too heavy, that's a dislocated pelvis, Space Ghost. When you really think about it, these men have no other option than to be labeled a deadbeat dad. They either can't afford the child support, which can be up to 60% of their take-home pay, or they have to work 3 jobs just to get by because they have legally been forced into poverty. At which point they have no time for their children because they're trying to scrape by with minimum calories and maximum effort. Not that I would know anything about that. Hey, you hear that? That's the sound of hopelessness and somebody getting their heart ripped out through their a-hole.
You gonna finish those fries, bro?
Dude, I didn't even know you back then. Get out of here, you time-traveling hobgoblin.
And that is the sound of a t-shirt that we really need to make. Either way you look at it, real strong, independent women don't have to destroy someone else to become that way. And they certainly don't need to constantly remind everyone around them about how brave they are when. And regret number 3, these women get divorced hoping for greener pastures. They absolutely crush their family under the wheels of bureaucracy, thinking that they could upgrade to a bigger, better P-nice. Instead, they discover the entire farm is growing on a pile of shit. These women are shocked by the picture reality paints of the dating market. The average age for women to get married in the Western world is 27. Let's just say you make it to the second review, which is 13 years. That means a lot of these women are getting divorced at 40.
I'm not sure if you ladies got the memo, but of the 72 genders, at least half of them age like milk.
Even though they're 40, they somehow believe dating is going to be like it was when they were 24. Instead, they're confronted by men who know the deal. Oh no. They've either been divorced, betrayed, raked through the coals, and there is no more room in their back for another knife. These men guard their resources behind a moat of self-respect. And no amount of blame, shame, or emasculation is going to penetrate that. Unlike you in the bathroom at the club, Screen 5. Instead of landing a top-tier dude that'll step up and be a real man, wait. Hang on, I gotta check my Google Translate chick speak. Oh, that really means you want a beta male cuck wage slave. And if they're willing to settle for Mr. Captain Save a garden tool, well, that would be easy to find. Because dudes, let's face it, they have not been this thirsty since Jesus came back from 40 days in the desert. But these women want to upgrade. They want that established man with a plan who also has the mark of the beast.
Yeah. That's not gonna happen.
Men like this, they're not writing checks against a beat-up snot pocket with anchors in tow. I'll hit it, quit it, run it through all the gears, neutral, slam it, park, stop it, flip it over, bend the frame, and leave it dripping fluid from the front and the back, right in Section 8 housing where they found it. Then everyone else in the bar gets a poke. But the only Y chromosome these ladies get to take home are running down their thighs, Screen 5.
And now it's time for this week's installment of They Should Be Dead, brought to you by Uncle Nick, Diary of a Misanthrope.
Give it to me!
Fatality. This has been your weekly installment of They Should Be Dead. Frank Selby's novel Uncle Nick is available in paperback and ebook right now. Links are in the description.
And sooner or later, the reality of this tragedy starts to set in. And these ladies have to decide, are they going to settle or sling back to the ex after they've been ran through more than the fencing dummy at the Olympics? God. And this almost always happens after one of three things. Either they have 3 failed relationships, a minimum of 7 years have passed since the divorce, or a major change in circumstance. And that could be money, weight gain, weight loss, health, what have you. After the illusion of the fairy tale ending wears off, a lot of these women are gonna crawl back begging for a second chance.
I didn't really know what I wanted. I really thought that I could just find what I was thinking. I didn't know because our marriage was just so great, and I felt trapped. And I never look at that. My f***ing sausage wallet smells like a f***ing tuna can left out in the sun, and it's just so terrible, and I can't smell it. I smell myself in the shower when I'm trying to wash with soap, and it's just so terrible. And I thought, who would take me back? You must.
I'll get right on that, Space Ghost. All right, before I go into this next one, I gotta pour some booze, and gentlemen, you need to too. There are men out there that are so stupid, they'll take these women back. Let's drink. If that happens, and you are one of these dudes, you get what you get, and don't you dare throw a fit. Run right now to the bathroom. Look yourself in the mirror, yell at the top of your lungs, you're stupid, and slap yourself in the face. Do not reward these backstabbing Jezebel harpies with more of your time and resources. If they did not respect you before, guess what? They respect you even less when you take them back. Number 5! Let's say you're smart. S-M-A-R-T. And you don't take these women back. As time marches on, that wall is gonna fade into the horizon, and that's when the fun really begins. These women get beyond 40, and reality dick slaps them with its meaty cock. At that point, not always, but sometimes, something remarkable happens. At least it would be if men still gave a shit. Space Ghost. They finally begin to accept the role that they played in their own demise. But at this point, it's too late. They have grown invisible, and they're not worth the investment anymore. They ran the clock. The game is over. All that's left is pickup games and no one cares or bets on those. And this is where record numbers of binge drinking and self-deletion comes in. Because what else is there to do when your first thought every day is,
I'm f***ed, now what am I going to do?
I would feel bad for you if you didn't do it to yourselves in ever-increasing numbers every year. We have seen 50 years of this carnage. Have we not learned anything yet? Selfish women jumping out of the marriage plane without any parachutes. You would think by now that they would learn to either stay in the plane or at least put on the parachute. Anyone worth their salt is going to see somebody plummeting to the ground at terminal velocity and step out of the way. And number 6, you know what these women always say to each other, right?
The only way to get over the last one is to get under the new one.
They do this all the time, and it's referred to as monkey branching. Only instead of tree limbs, it's penis. Bottom line, women who jump from one deli counter to the next for the fresh meat, you guys know what I mean there, right? They take zero time for self-reflection. And that is why they make the same mistakes over and over again with different guys. You know, the women on social media screaming about how all men are pigs and they're all the same. There you go. By pigs, you mean primary inseminator guy? Well, that's me, cheers. Last but not least, lucky number 7. These women wind up missing the relationship they left behind, searching for something better. Wah. Wah. As they age and loneliness, really no joke, starts to set in, these women come to realize that there's more to life than drama and excitement. There's stability, security, and companionship.
Right.
Now, if you're 24, all of these things sound boring. But when you're 50 and your phone only rings when your kids need something, if you have any, all of that shit starts to sound downright exhilarating. When these ladies were in their 20s, the dating pool was an entire water park. And they took a few squirts to the face, if you know what I mean. Over time, that water park shrinks like cotton in the washing machine set on hot. By the time they're 45, it's a dime store kiddie pool and somebody poked a hole in it. And the funniest part about this whole thing is phlebotomists, women, and the media refuse to acknowledge it's all true. They refuse to take responsibility for destroying our society by attacking its core foundation, the nuclear family. They can see the fallout and how it's ripping us apart at the seams, but yet they refuse to admit fault. In fact, they see it as a revolutionary act. But when they experience the negative consequences, they still want to mine for your sympathy. You want some sympathy? Well, do yourself a favor. Look in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. You'll find it there. You know what else you'll find there? All of the holes in the narrative. Oh no. The symptoms are all there if you're just willing to open your eyes and see. 1 in 4 women in the Western world is on head meds, and that stat is 10 years old. My, is that convenient that we haven't got an update yet, wouldn't you say? The self-deletion rate among middle-aged women is the highest it's ever been. But it's still nowhere near the self-deletion rates of men. Even these record-breaking numbers of women only equate to 1/4 of that of men. Women attempt it more, but men succeed more. Because we're better at it, Screen 5.
Well, I guess that's the difference between true hopelessness brought about by a society that's abandoned the same men that it expects everything from, versus a drama queen crying for attention from all of her friends who moved on to lead fulfilling lives, raising families with men they love and respect.
Here's the thought. those women with husbands and children, they'll actually have someone to take care of them when they're older. All of their divorced and single friends who lied about not wanting kids and use social media to lie about living their best life without regrets. Those ladies, they're still at the bar hoping someone notices them before they drink themselves to death.
Man, that's just mean. That's mean, man.
Men, let's face it, we regret not banging a couple chicks here and there when we had the opportunity. Maybe we'll regret not taking that trip to Asia before we slipped one by the goalie. But when the shit rolls downhill, men do what they need to do. So when it comes to the end, our actual needs are being met. J-O-B is not spelled F-U-N or L-O-V-E, just saying. When you lack discipline and impulse control, life can be exciting, but only for a little while. Because in life, you either pay in the beginning or you pay in the end. But no matter what your excuse is, the devil is always going to get his due. And I'm done. I'm going to finish this menagerie. Go away, Space Ghost. I know, they take pictures. I'm like, I hope that's the only thing they're taking pictures of.
Stop that, you fucking foodies.
Yeah, I'm a dumpy. I used to send pictures of my dump to my daughters. They didn't go over well.
Some buddies of mine and I, we would get drunk and we would just take audio recordings of really horrendous sounding shits and like, you know when we have the McDonald's graphic that goes up and it says I'm loving it and you hear like shit hitting the toilet? That's actually me.
Oh my god, really? Oh my god, that's awesome!